What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so before I get into this video, I want to give a shout out to the brother Aram for showing love with a donation to the channel via the PayPal. Much respect to him for showing love once again. Aram, old school basketball lover, and he loves to bring up some of these what ifs, these historical what ifs, and that is what if Julius Erving stayed with the Atlanta Hawks going into the 1972-73 NBA season? Okay. Now, for those of you who don't know, remember I did do a video about what if he played with the Bucks, which was a couple of months ago. I think I might have done it during the late winter or early spring. But anyway, this is a more plausible scenario for Dr. J because Julius Erving never really wanted to be in Milwaukee. However, he loved the city of Atlanta, and he would have fit culturally in the city of Atlanta. And also adding to this situation is that the three exhibition games or preseason games that he did play with the Atlanta Hawks before, basically legally he was forced to leave the team, and I'll get to that in a moment. He thrived with Pete Maravich. Matter of fact, Pete Maravich said in an interview shortly before his premature death at the age of 40 in January of 1988, he said that he believes in those. Now, he might have been slightly exaggerating. I don't know the stats offhand or have access to them, but he said in those three games that they played, he averaged around 14 assists a game playing with Julius Erving in those preseason games. And the combination of Pete Maravich's ball handling ability and shooting combined with the otherworldly athleticism of and his creativity, and we all know Julius Erving flourished in the full court, and that's what Pete Maravich often had his magic. So that would have worked. And then you add to that dynamic, you already have on the club the great Walt Bellamy, who some of these Nimrods totally forget about when they talk about great centers of the 60s and early 70s. When they think only, it's just funny. Sometimes you see Gilbert Arenas say the only black centers the only real good centers in the 60s was Wilt and Bill Russell, right? But then with a league with 30 teams, you're hard pressed to name another great center right now outside of Jokic because Joel Embiid's been hurt. But anyway, they also had Sweet Lou Hudson on that squad. So I'm gonna get to what happened. So, Dr. J left the Virginia Squires due to what he thought was some. I'm trying to remember the details. I think it was some shenanigans with a deal that he had signed or a contract that he had signed. I think he felt like he was owed money that wasn't paid to him. I think also, if I'm not mistaken, if someone in the comment section can correct this or clarify this a little more, I think his agent stole some money from him or something like that too. So he said, fuck it, I'm going to go to the Atlanta Hawks, who he was trying out for. And it looked like he was going to be a member of the Atlanta Hawks. Like I said, he played 3 exhibition games for them. But then supposedly, they ruled that he did not have the legal right to play for the Atlanta Hawks, and that technically, I think the judge said that, you can't legally play for the Hawks because your rights vis-a-vis are owned by the Virginia Squires. And ultimately, that was proven to be the case a couple of months later on, and he went back to the Virginia Squires. So that's why he only played 3 games. But had he stayed, I think they could have, at the very least, contended for a championship and possibly won a championship the next year. Um, Richie Guerin had been the head coach the year before. Richie Guerin, he's still alive, by the way. Richie Guerin, Hall of Famer, I think in his early 90s, sharpshooting guard for the New York Knickerbockers of the late 50s and into the 60s. But at that point in time, he was a young head coach, but he got kicked upstairs to the front office before the start of I think the 72-73 season. I think that's what it was. And their coach was a young Cotton Fitzsimmons, who many of you may recall, mostly from his coaching stints with the Phoenix Suns. And one of the things I noticed now, I was just looking at the stats before I did this video. I noticed that the scoring for Pete Maravich and Lou Hudson went up. And Walt Bellamy's went down a bit. Walt was leading the league, leading team in scoring the year before. By that point in time, Walt had went down to third. And I think Walt Bellamy was averaging like Walt Bellamy was averaging like 16. I think he was averaging like 16 and 9. I think Lou Hudson was averaging around like 26, 27, and Pete was averaging around 24, 25, right? So that makes sense because of the coaching style that Cotton Fitzsimmons had. Plus, Walt Bellamy was getting older. So basically, the front court was doing the majority of the scoring. So if you have Julius Erving on that team too, man, that team would have been great. Now, in reality, that Hawks team went 46 and 36. I can't remember how they fared in the playoffs. I don't think that if they did, I think they might have gotten knocked out in the second round, right? But don't quote me on that. You can look that up for yourself to see if that was the case. I know in the finals that year, 72-73, it was the Lakers, their last hurrah, the Chamberlain West, the Gail Goodrich team. They lost to the Knicks. That's the last time the New York Knicks won a championship. I can't help but think that with Julius Erving there, they probably battled out with the Knicks. I think in the conference finals, I think they lose. But then the next year, maybe they do go all the way. Maybe they win, I don't know. I'm just saying with this Julius Erving, a young Julius Erving, too. This is Julius Erving in his absolute prime. Like Julius Erving is what, like 22, 23 years old? Oh, my goodness. This Julius Erving probably would have averaged, man, playing with Pete Maravich, I give him 20, 21 points a night that first year. Second year, man, he's probably putting up 24 points a night. Because remember, he's playing with help, so he's not going to be averaging 30-something. But yeah, he's going to be averaging 24. Lou Hudson might be averaging 22. Pete Maravich might be averaging 24, 25. Bellamy may be relegated more to putbacks and alley-oops and whatever, the occasional one-on-one, big, huge matchups. He might score in bunches. Maybe he averages more around 14 a night. I could see that team going like 59 and 23 or something, running through the playoffs and just blowing past the in real life champion Boston Celtics, going up against Milwaukee, because at that time Milwaukee was in the Western Conference, going up against Kareem and Oscar. Oscar was falling down as a player. Yeah, I could see them beating them 4-1 and winning a title, and maybe even repeating. I could see that. And then maybe we look at Pete Maravich even differently. I mean, Pete Maravich is an all-time great, but what's one thing that's missing from Pete Maravich's resume is he did not have playoff success. He only played in 26 postseason games. Now, there's going to be some things, I think, that are going to be hurting him. Pete Maravich is probably going to have a high turnover rate. But what I'm trying to get at, too, is with some actual talent around him that complements him and complements his game, like a Julius Erving, we could see a variation of Showtime before Showtime was Showtime. You know, and here's an actual photo of them that season. So you can see Julius Erving was actually a member of the Atlanta Hawks before he was legally forced off the squad. So this is a great what if. But anyway, tell me what you guys think about this.